On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Thanks for listening on SuperTalk Gulf Coast 103.1, or maybe you're listening on YouTube or Facebook Live, or later you're watching the video, or maybe you're listening on one of your favorite podcasts. But however you choose to listen to Coast Vue, we really appreciate you tuning in. I was checking some of the engagement numbers for Coast Vue just the last couple of days, and it seemed really incredible how much the numbers up, like engagement on the SuperTalk, the Ricky Matthews Coast Vue site is up over 500%, and the numbers continue to improve. We're touching, thousands of people a week in our videos, but the numbers on the radio show continue to do really well too. So really appreciate you listening. This is a show where you can find out what's happening in coastal Mississippi and focus on the people who are really working hard to make a difference. Today we have two guests. I'm going to tell you about that, but I have a message I want to share before we get to the first guest. Linda Hornsby from the Mississippi Hotel and Lodging Association. And then we're going to get an update from Clay Williams from the airport. Things are starting to improve there. Look forward to hearing from Clay. Hey, listen, someone sent me a note the other day. I posted something about Mozart, and they came back and said, man, I like Mozart. And I went back, and this is kind of a private conversation. I said, I listen to Mozart because when I want to be creative, I think that Mozart helps me be creative. And it reminded me of something that I always talked about. And I just want to share it with you. And it's about finding what I call the creativity zone, your creativity zone. Over the years in my career, I had to find what that was for me, whether I was writing a good important report, getting ready for a board meeting, writing something that was really important to me. I would I'd work hard to find that creativity zone. Now, it could have been that I was on a long bike ride, or maybe doing a long run, or maybe I was just going to sit somewhere quietly. But I found myself often in those moments listening to Mozart. When we live in a world of, have cyber lives and digital lives, and disconnecting actually is really important. It's important to take those long walks or those long runs or those long bike rides. And when you do, you should listen to calming music. And in a lot of cases, Mozart always worked well for me. But it's in those moments that you find that peace of mind, and and in these quiet moments, you really engage what I refer to as your ultimate imagination, your creativity, your dreams. It's important. I don't care how old you get to always have dreams about what to look forward to. But I think that finding your creativity zone is a really important key to success. And also, in order to do that, you got to disconnect. We're so connected these days. I think we should focus a little bit more on disconnecting. I hope this is useful advice for you as you search for your creativity zone. Hey, by the way, just one more note about Mozart. There's this thing called the Mozart effect. It's actually scientifically proven that if you listen to Mozart, you think better. During my career as a publisher and CEO, if you came into my office, there was actually a more than 50% chance that I'd be listening to something like Beethoven or Mozart or Vivaldi. And if I had something important to write, like I said a second ago, Mozart was my choice. You should try it. I think you'll like it. There was actually a study that was done about playing Mozart during mathematics outcome assessments. It said that it improves student scores. What they did is a study of trigonometry classes, and they said that it was statistically proven, significantly statistically proven, on mathematics outcome assessment that when they listened to Mozart, they did so much better. Something to really think about. If you're not a real fan of Mozart, turn some on one day and see kind of how it helps you think better. So now let's turn to my friend, the executive director of the Mississippi Hotel and Lodging Association, Linda Hornsby. Good morning, Linda. How are you?
Good morning, Ricky. Glad to be here.
Hey, do you disconnect? Do you work hard to find your creativity zone?
Well, I don't think I have a creativity zone, but I do, I need to listen to what you're talking about, Mozart and Beethoven. My husband does that, but I have found myself sitting on my porch a lot, just looking at the bay and not connected to anything, and that helps. It's very calm.
Hey, you know what? And I see your pictures from time to time on Facebook, but when you and I had that same absolute God-given opportunity to be able to look across the bay. And it is divine. It's a divine experience, and in a way, it's like nature doing its form of Mozart. Right. That's really what it is, isn't it? It's a soul cleansing experience to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, and you have to do it. You just have to do it sometime. Just find a place and sit there and just try not to think about anything.
Well, I said, there's so many quotes that I could share with you, but one of the stories that I shared this week is with a guy named Lake Pickle who works for Primos Outdoors. And at the beginning of that show, I shared this. It said, "Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." And, that's I would say, with a view of the bay, I lose my mind and find my soul. But it's so true, isn't it? That there's just really incredible experience. That's one of the beauties of living in coastal Mississippi, isn't it?
It is. And you don't have to live on the bay to enjoy it. In fact, I'm watching a boardwalk being built in front of our property right now, and that's so that everybody can enjoy it.
Well, look, Hemingway, I've shared him several times because I'm a big fan of Hemingway, but he says, he was in an interview with a guy named Robert Manning, who was the executive editor for The Atlantic. This is back in 1954 from his home in Cuba overlooking Havana. And Hemingway says to Robert Manning, it's wonderful to go out on the water. I need it, he said, and then he gestured toward the ocean. It's the last free place there is, the sea. That's one of the draws of coastal Mississippi, that someone can go down and sit on the seawall and just take it all in. It doesn't cost anything. It helps kind of, relieve the soul. Yeah. We're so lucky to live here. God bless us for having us on.
We have the most accessible waterfront on the coast of any place I can think of. Every place else, whatever property is there owns that, and so ours is so accessible, and that's a good thing.
It is not just the 26 miles along Harrison County, but on into Hancock County and over into Jackson County. You're so right about that. I mean, our forefathers were very, very visionary. They didn't even realize at the time when they built the beach to protect the seawall that it would become this incredible tourist thing that we are able to enjoy today. But more are we lucky to enjoy it. Hey, so here we are. We're coming out of the pandemic, and you can you really see it. You see it. I can't wait to hear your report this morning, but we'll come back. We'll hold that for just a second. Even during the pandemic, we did fairly well considering. I know that the rent rates on average were down some. We weren't nearly where we wanted to be, but just compared to other communities that were just almost dead as a doornail, we kind of held our own for the most part. But now that things have begun to heat up, you can see that all the work we did to position ourselves during the pandemic is beginning to really pay off, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. I think that we are so fortunate that our market was a drive-in market. Excuse me, Clay Williams, for saying that, but we need more of a fly-in market. But we were lucky last year that it was a drive-in market because people felt, and also that we're wide open, the beach, 26 miles of social distancing, that our market took advantage of that, and that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, Clay Williams from the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport will be joining us actually in the next segment. But he did a really good job throughout this pandemic of understanding and relating to the reality that 80% of the people who came to coastal Mississippi drove here. But some flew here, and of course there was a big military piece that still continued to use the airport, and then the business community. Sure. We're going to get an update on that in a minute. Their numbers have improved too. But, I think that casinos, coastal Mississippi tourism effort, you guys were all aligned around the reality that if we could create a safe environment for people to come here in their cars because they felt safer in their cars, and come here and know that you guys, for example, in your group, the Hotel and Lodging Association, we're going to go out of their way to clean the rooms and make sure it was done properly and all that it was going to make a big difference. And it made a big difference, didn't it?
It did. It did. The hotels jumped on it so fast. It surprised even me. I mean, the brands were sending down new policies, new procedures, and then the non-brands borrowed those, and everybody was on. We distributed advisories on what to do, and it, it required a lot more product, a lot more staff, and a lot more hours. I mean, what used to be a small amount of time, or not a small amount, but an established amount of time to clean a room suddenly doubled and tripled. So some of the rooms had to be shut down because you simply didn't have the staff to make that happen.
We're talking to Linda Hornsby, who's the executive director of the Mississippi Hotel and Lodging Association. And when we come back, we're going to reflect on where we are today. We had David Parker from Economic Development Office in Gulfport on last week, and he talked a little bit about the situation about what's happening with hotel occupancy these days in Gulfport. Linda's got the numbers, so we'll talk about what that ramp up looks like when we come back on the other side.
Okay.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's J. Allen at J. Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the J. Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the J. Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Tie Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice-cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Tie Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi. If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, casinoradio1063.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a terrific conversation with my dear friend Linda Hornsby. And if there's anyone who knows about what's happening in the hotel lodging world across the state of Mississippi, for that matter, is Linda Hornsby. Hey, Linda, before we get to the current numbers and sort of what you are seeing today, I want to share a couple of things these are quotes from Jimmy Buffett that were shared in my conversation with David Parker earlier. And it said two quotes that I think really apply to the conversation you and I were having earlier. One said this: "It's a sweet life living by the salty sea." I love that one. And here's one of my favorite of all time: "If there's a heaven for me, I'm sure it has a beach attached."
Yeah.
But that's so true, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it shows appreciation for what we have.
It is. It is. That's one of the reasons so many people flock here. And are people flocking here now?
They are. And you said earlier about during the pandemic, yes, we outperformed a lot of other areas, and we're doing so now. They are flocking here. I think some of it's pent-up demand. Some of it is just, they haven't traveled in so long, and they just want to go take a family vacation. We're seeing a lot of families, but we're seeing a lot of adult travel as well. So I couldn't be happier. Our numbers are good. They're very good.
So let's do this. I don't know the best way to present them, but you can just share the numbers you have. But it would be interested to know, like, how does this compare to where we were like 6 months ago? But you can sort of unveil them however you want to talk about them.
Yeah, the one thing on that note that I would caution people when they get our reports, the STAR reports, which is what we use, and it's the leading statistical tracker in the world, probably. They always compare year over year. Well, honestly, if we compared, let's say 2020 to 2019, that would be disingenuous, because 2019, between June 1st through September, we had an impaired baseline due to the Bonnie Carey spillway opening. Yeah. That's when the economic effects were felt here on the coast. June 1st, almost to that day through September. So really, we have to compare to 2018 to really see where we are. And I think, based on that, we are better. We are better. Now, 2019, the first couple of months, we were staged for significant growth until 2020, we were staged for significant growth. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and hit everybody. I think one of the things it has done that still exists today is the workforce, and that's hitting everyone, and the cost of products, cost of doing business has risen significantly. So even though our occupancy is good, ADR and RevPAR not quite as good as occupancy, but that's just, the revenue guys determine what your rate is, and that determines what the revenue is. But thankfully the occupancy is good, but the cost of getting that occupancy has risen significantly. Hopefully we'll start seeing people back to work though after this past weekend. So we'll see.
Yeah, the Ashley Edwards was on, I guess, a couple of days ago, and we talked a little bit about this. But what I'm hearing from my guests and from people who've been on Coast Vue before, we're beginning to see that they're having a little bit more luck finding employees. But what's interesting here is that we don't just have to fight against the reality of the supplemental unemployment that finally has ended, but we're also just restarting the economy. So that when you combine all that together, the number of jobs, as Ashley pointed out, hospitals are hiring doctors, Ingalls is hiring 3,000 workers, and I mean, just literally across the spectrum. spectrum, we've never been in a place like this before, where you have a hot economy to start out with in coastal Mississippi, combined with coming out of the pandemic, combined with some of the challenges of maybe there was an incentive for some employees to sit home. It's very dynamic, and it makes, especially in your business, it makes it really, really challenging, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And what we are seeing, hopefully, is that people are leaving the big city areas, and especially younger people. You know, the pandemic was just kind of the tip of the iceberg, and the big cities felt it much more than we did. And so people are taking a second look at their quality of life. And so we're benefiting from that, because you're seeing a workforce relocating here, and we're going to benefit from that. So it's not just the hourly workers. It's even
I definitely agree. We've talked about it a lot on the show, that strategically the new economy, as we talk about the new economy, creative class, this could be copywriters or graphic artists or architects or even lawyers. I mean, any number of people fit into that category. These are people that even before the pandemic had an opportunity to sort of live, work, and play wherever they choose to do it. They could do it remotely. And the pandemic has put that new economy on steroids. And so you have all these people that lived in these big cities now are now choosing communities where they want to work. And we know this. We've known this for quite a while, that the appeal of a community like Biloxi or Ocean Springs or Big St. Louis, and what's happening now in Pascagoula with mixed-use development and all that, is going to really play well for us going into the future. There's a lot of investment being made in coastal Mississippi in that regard. So our downtowns, you know, I really predict 5-10 years from now are going to be bustling with activity.
I hope so.
I hope so. I really hope so too. What David said is that when you compare weekend, this is David Parker, Economic Development for the City of Gulfport, when you compare midweek hotel occupancy with weekend, that they were pretty much on par with each other, you know, recently. Are you seeing that sort of across the board, that you're seeing a lot of more activity during the week as compared to weekends?
Yes, since school let out, of course. And I'm anxious to see what happens at the 1st of August if we sustain some decent weekday occupancy. I think our weekends are going to be strong, like, you know, for several months. But I'm anxious to see what happens to weekdays whenever the school starts back, not just here, but elsewhere. So that we can see if people are still traveling, adults, or, you know, I know families can't if their children are in school, but I'm anxious to see how that turns out.
It's going to be really interesting. You know what's interesting? It just occurred to me that you and I talked about the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic and the work that we've had to do to strategically align coastal Mississippi to succeed coming out of the pandemic. But we didn't even mention Hurricane Zeta. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Normally that would have been something you and I would have talked about.
Yeah.
But it just shows you how resilient we've become, doesn't it?
Yes, that used to be the topic. We had a Category 3 storm, but, you know, on the heels of the pandemic, it was just like, oh, okay, this is just the exclamation point.
Well, it also, you know, I think it says something. One, certainly it talks. I mean, I think Katrina helped set a new bar for what ultimate challenge looks like. Mm-hmm. Something like Zeta, while it was obviously difficult for a lot of people for a period of time, that our ability to bounce back from something like that, it's just, I mean, as you and I have discussed many times, it's built into our DNA. The other thing, though, is that the infrastructure of coastal Mississippi is more solid today. Our ability to deal with that, get the power back on, not have as many other impacts. You know, the surge was pretty significant. You know, we still have some peer damage. And when you talk to people like Fofo Gillage, they're really focused on, we're not going to rebuild them the way we did in the past. We're going to try to rebuild them in a way that allows them to be, even our peers, to be more resilient. We didn't lose a board on the boardwalk in Biloxi, not a single board.
Yeah, isn't that something?
You know, it just shows that we are getting smarter about how to design things. We're getting, you know, we're not, you know, we're not accepting that we're just going to rebuild what was there before. We're going to get a lot smarter about being stronger going forward. But it is notable that something like Hurricane Zeta, which kind of slipped up on us in October in the way that it did, isn't talked about more. We just kind of went back. The pandemic just overshadows that entire situation. Yeah. So funny.
Yeah.
So when you look at the numbers today, occupancy just right now, occupancy across the board is just incredible, I assume.
It is. It's in the weekdays. It's in the 70s. Weekends in the 90s. So that's an overall high 70 to 80% for a week. That's good. That is very good. Especially now that almost all the rooms are open. There's a few that every once in a while now, some of the hotels, if they don't have the staff to clean them, they'll close those rooms. They won't rent. If they have 100 rooms, they won't rent 10 or 20 of them, but that's not happening as much.
Less than a minute, but how does the coast compare to the rest of the state quickly?
Well, yeah, the coast is outperforming the state, and the state is outperforming the region and the nation. Yeah, so that's.
I know it is. In fact, I said many times in the early days coming out of the restart the economy effort. At one point, Mississippi's probably still in the top 5. Mississippi's number 3 on the list. And when you go in and understand that, you see that tourism is a big part of that. And then you start to understand that, and you realize the coast is a big part of that. So you've done really well. Anyway,
I think our biggest challenge is going to be getting groups back, conventions, meetings. That's our biggest challenge. We need to focus on that.
I'm looking forward to that. And as we learned during the post-Katrina effort, that is a big part of our tourism trade, really big part. We've got to perform well in conventions. So hopefully we'll see that get back running again. Anyway, Linda, thank you very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Nice talking to you.
You bet. When we come back, we'll have Clay Williams from the airport to talk about how they're doing. See you after this.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalkMSGulfCoast.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and,
Wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Whether you're brand new to the DIY craze or a seasoned veteran, the Handyman Show has something for you. Buddy Slowick shares tips and tricks on everything from odd jobs to complete build-outs, from small home repairs to serious construction. So no matter if you're at the master carpenter level or not quite sure how to use a level, the Handyman Show answers your questions with a healthy dose of humor and some great music too. Saturdays, 10 to noon on SuperTalk Mississippi and on SuperTalk TV.
SuperTalk Mississippi. Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth. When you want the truth. Simply because it might hurt some feelings. And nothing but the truth. Lose some subscribers. You want the Gallo Radio Show. I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead. The Gallo Radio Show. And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself. Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
And now, it's Coast View with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota, Gulf Coast Business Supply, and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. Listen, I really enjoyed that conversation with Linda Hornsby from the Hotel and Lodging Association for Mississippi. Linda's a good friend. I worked with her closely before and after Hurricane Katrina, and then more recently through Coast View. We're lucky to have her, and she does such a great job of sort of capturing the numbers so we can really understand statistically where we are. And the numbers are really good for coastal Mississippi. And I think it has a lot to do with all the work we did to get ourselves in a position where people could come here and believe that they're having a really safe vacation or whatever their reason for visiting here was. Hey, speaking of safe vacation, it's really important for coastal Mississippi to have better numbers on vaccinations. I think, it plays to the tourism conversation. It plays to whether Mississippi really understands whether the vaccine is going to make a difference or not. And frankly, the numbers across Mississippi compared to the rest of the nation are not what they need to be. And you've heard a lot of talk recently about this Delta version of the coronavirus. It's highly contagious. And I'll just repeat what my friend Lee Bond, the CEO of Singing River Health Systems, says, that now is not the time to be selfless. And now is the time to be selfless. You may not necessarily, if you don't get the vaccine and you get coronavirus, you may not have a major impact, but you could give it to someone else in your family who has not been vaccinated, who is vulnerable, who could really be in trouble. More recently, we have a friend of the family who passed away from COVID, and it's sad to hear that. And what I would urge you, if you're torn about whether to get a vaccine or not, please get the vaccine. They're so easy to get. Just look it up. I got mine. Most of the people I talked to on the show got theirs, and we're moving on with life. So as Lee Bond said, now is the time to be selfless. Now is the time to be selfless. Get your vaccination. Now let's move over to my friend Clay Williams, Executive Director for Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport, and just say, first of all, good morning.
Good morning, Ricky. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. It's always good to visit with you.
It's good to see you too, buddy. Hey, you heard what I said about the vaccination, but I'm just curious, when you look at Mississippi numbers compared to the rest of the nation, is it something you hear about in your role as the executive director of the airport?
Yeah, well, having vaccines more readily available as they are now, it's critical. It's actually driving travel in this country. And the more people are vaccinated, the better, because we feel like, people have more confidence in getting out, whether it be on the road or traveling by air. So again, having that readily available for the general populace is important. And again, it's going to be at some point, you have to look where you're traveling. We always encourage people when they're flying, look at the destination where you're going, particularly if it's international. What are the requirements? And it may be that you either have to have a COVID test or potentially you've had to have a vaccine. So again, people should be mindful of that. And it certainly has helped drive our recovery that we're seeing at the airport, Ricky.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's about to visit here from California, and he'll be here for a while. And he sends me a note and says, "What's up with Mississippi's vaccination numbers?" Does anyone ever ask you that question?
People have asked, what percentage of the state or of the region has been vaccinated. We were fortunate here that one of our healthcare partners came out and provided vaccines here at the airport for employees, not only of the airport authority, but also for the airlines and the rental car companies and TSA and others. So again, having that available and readily available hopefully encourages people to go out and get one.
Yeah, I hope it does. My son was down over last weekend. We had my one granddaughter turned 2. A grandson was getting baptized. It was a special weekend for my family, and he came down and headed back up to New York through Gulfport Airport, I might add.
Great. Well, thanks.
And always has a great experience when he does that. But you just get a sense of there's a little bit more hustle and bustle at the airport these days. Kind of give us a sense of what you're experiencing.
We saw the change occur in March. So January and February were still difficult months. You had a rise in COVID cases at the beginning of the calendar year, but in March we started to see a turn. April was a strong month. May, we've just gotten those numbers as of late. It was a really good month for us. And Ricky, it's been driven by leisure travel. There's a lot of pent-up demand. People wanting to go places. You see a lot of families in the airport. You see couples wanting to go on trips. Our charter business has really helped drive the recovery. And we're very, very fortunate in South Mississippi. While we saw declines in 2020 and they were significant, they might not have been as significant as some markets because we have the military here and our servicemen and women from Keesler Air Force Base and the Naval Construction Battalion, the National Guard presence that we have here along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. They continue to travel. And so that's helped bolster our recovery. And we've seen good numbers. What's interesting is Friday, this past Friday, June the 11th, was the peak day for travel since the onset of the pandemic. You saw over 2 million passengers go through TSA checkpoints around the country. That's such a welcome sight to see. Prior to the onset of the COVID pandemic, TSA was screening anywhere from 2 million to 2.5 million travelers a day through domestic checkpoints across the United States. And so getting that number back on Friday above 2 million was significant. Remember, Ricky, back in April of 2020, it was a record low. I mean, I think domestically through checkpoints one day, April 13th, around that time frame, you saw 87,000 people, only 87,000 people go through domestic security screening checkpoints. So to have that number eclipse 2 million, that's quite the milestone in the environment that we find ourselves.
You know, as I mentioned in our conversation with Linda Hornsby earlier, you've done a really good job throughout the pandemic of explaining how the Gulfport-Biloxi Airport is a diversified kind of machine. So, you've talked about the leisure traveler, the business traveler, the military. I mean, the military, as you continue to point out, you said it again just a few minutes ago, has been incredibly important. And one of the things that I want to make sure that we give proper credence to this reality, and that is that once we came to the realization that we've got to reopen our casinos and we got to do it smartly. I mean, the innovation that was happening at the casinos was incredible. They didn't just, put hand washing stations out. They literally reconfigured their entire gaming floors and the way they do food, et cetera. But once they got all that lined up and they restarted their charter service, which you mentioned it just a few minutes ago, but gosh, that was actually a key contributor to helping the airport survive. How important is the casino charter aspect of what you do? Well, as of right now, if you look at overall capacity here at the airport and in terms of the number of flights that we have, we've been very fortunate that all flights that we had pre-pandemic have returned. So as of June, I'll tell you, Delta has brought in their rotations, and they've got those back up to a level where they were pre-pandemic. They actually have a 737 that they brought in, adding some additional seats. United Airlines just brought back its third flight to Houston daily. So all that critically important for us, Americans providing great connectivity. But the casino charters, as you mentioned, Ricky, that's so significant for us. 2 casinos right now, Beau Rivage and Harrah's Gulf Coast, are flying in 38% of the traffic into the airport. Again, it's leisure driven right now. Those numbers will change as corporate travelers begin to take to the air again. We're seeing some of that returning, but yet it's going to be a little bit slower, and we know that, and airports know that nationwide, as do the airlines. But again, having those robust charter programs, Beau Rivage is flying over 82 cities now, bringing in residents into coastal Mississippi. It's a tremendous program. Harrah's has really ramped up what they're doing. They're bringing in approximately 15 flights a month now into coastal Mississippi. We've got a few other casino partners, Island View, IP, and others that have contributed to the Allegiant flight. The Allegiant flight is important to us. It returned back at the end of October, flies on Saturday and Wednesday, has a low-cost fare structure that they offer. They offer fares sometimes as low as $39 each way to and from Orlando, Sanford. We wouldn't have that service without the gaming industry. I mean, the gaming industry is so critically important, as is the defense industry and our defense contractors, Ingalls Shipbuilding and others here along the coast that really drive what we do here at the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. When we come back for the final segment, we'll continue this conversation about the role that casinos have played not only in our recovery, but the recovery of the airport. And we'll shift gears and see what else is happening in Clay's world these days. This is Clay Williams, the Executive Director of the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. We'll see you after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be lined with food trucks this Saturday for Ugly Thai Fest. Finally, a festival for Dad. Ice-cold beer, great live music all day, classic motorcycles, and delicious food truck food. So come hungry and ready to have some fun. Bring your dad and the whole family to Ugly Thai Fest in downtown Gulfport, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is free.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're talking with Clay Williams, the Executive Director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. And we just want to make sure you heard that percentage. 38% of the current traffic into the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport are charters from casinos. And I heard specifically to the Beau Rivage, 82 cities. Man, they've always had a very aggressive charter program, but you know, think about the role that the casinos played in our recovery. I mean, look, the innovation that they put in place, as I mentioned during the last segment, to reconfigure their gaming floors and do the things that they needed to do, have been literally, you know, in the beginning of when we were coming out of the, you know, restarting the economy and reopening the casinos, they were literally on the, you know, had gotten the attention of just about every casino in the world. Literally, they were a best practice for that. And then they, you know, quickly moved over and started to get the charter services go again. When Fofo Gillis gave his State of the City address recently, he talked about the rise in casino revenue and, I mean, hitting records. It's truly an amazing story of recovery when you think about it. I mean, you have to just look at it and say the role casinos have played in helping the city of Biloxi and helping the coast and helping the airport and helping, you know, education because of the revenue that comes in and the taxes that are paid. It's truly incredible, isn't it, Clay?
It really is. They're such staunch supporters of the airport and of the coast as a whole. They're good community partners, and again drive a significant amount of the leisure traffic, whether it be drive-in or fly-in. But those that are flying into the airport, we want to make sure that they have a good experience when they arrive here. They have a great time when they're in coastal Mississippi, because once they come, they're usually repeat visitors for us. So that's tremendous. And speaking of repeat visitors, one of the recent bright spots that I'd like to mention is that the Sun Country Airlines is returning seasonal service from Minneapolis-St. Paul to Gulfport-Biloxi, and we announced that last week. It begins on September the 2nd and will run through the middle of November. That's great inbound service for us. We've had that now. This will be the 5th season that it's operated. Unfortunately, it did not operate in 2020, but it had operated 4 years prior to that. And to have that back, those are Minnesotans that are coming to this market, and there are a lot of repeat visitors that are coming to coastal Mississippi, and that's driven by the product that we have. It's not only the beach destination, the deep sea fishing and the delicious seafood, but they want to come here for the gaming amenities. There are a lot of opportunities to golf and gamble, and those visitors are flying in, and we greatly look forward to having that back. And one thing too, Ricky, is South Mississippians that may want to go get away, visit somewhere during the fall. There's nice fall foliage in Minnesota. You've got the land of 10,000 lakes. Good opportunity for people to get away and visit a new area.
Well, I spent some time in Minnesota, actually, when I was working for the Sun Herald in St. Paul. They were part of the same chain that we were part of, and spent a month or two up there doing some training. And boy, it's a beautiful place. It really is when they say a land of 1,000 lakes, they really mean it. There's probably way more than 1,000 lakes, but beautiful. Yeah, just beautiful place. Hey, look, you and I talked about this before in the past, but it will be interesting to see. It seems like every day I read something about the continuation of some form of remote work. I mean, it's just going to be, we're in a new place now. A lot of corporations have reduced their travel expense by engaging remote work. They see the importance of face-to-face meetings, but they also see the savings that have derived from not traveling. My son actually, as you know, works for Price Waterhouse in New York. They're beginning now to go and visit with customers. So that what they'll see is a mix. They'll be doing a lot of Zoom calls, et cetera, but they'll be doing also face-to-face meetings as well. What are you hearing in the industry about that trend?
So the savings that corporations have realized over the last year by utilizing the various technologies, Zoom and others, those are real. But we are seeing, from a firsthand standpoint, more people are getting out there. There are conventions starting to be held again. There are face-to-face meetings, and I think much of it will be driven by what the competition is doing. So if your competitive company or firm is out traveling and making sales calls, you're probably going to do that too. And so again, we are seeing some of that. That recovery is not as extraordinary as what we're seeing with the leisure side, but it is starting to occur, and it's going to be a mix, Ricky. I think that's sort of been the consensus, is you're going to still have your Zoom meetings, your virtual offerings, but people are ready to get out there, and there really is still no substitute for the face-to-face. So some of that's going to have to be done, and I think companies and firms and others are going to have to make the choice. What is the right balance for them?
This is Clay Williams, Executive Director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport, and have a great day.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
The streets of downtown Gulfport will be